Nancy and me is that, GFD, when we started, we were working in U.S. and Canada and Europe. In fact, we had our main office in Prague back in those days. But there was a certain point we said, well, the world's not going to transform if the emerging, developing world doesn't transform. So we began to do a lot of work in 4 countries, in Brazil, China, India, and South Africa. And in the end, we said we're going to go all in 100% on Brazil. So we really believe in Brazil. And then we did a lot of work in Brazil, and we wanted to do this transformational effort, and so we, in the end, we chose Porto Alegre to do it. We chose Porto Alegre over São Paulo and Rio de Janeiro and Belo Horizonte, Curitiba, and Florianópolis, 5 other cities where we could have done it. So when we came here to live here 27 months ago, people looked at us like, "Are you crazy? Why did you choose Porto Alegre?" And so then after 2 months, we went to Beatles Day in Cidade Baixa, and I tweeted my answer to that question. And I said then, and I believe it even more now, Porto Alegre is the Barcelona of Brazil and the San Francisco of South America. And please keep in mind, I was there in San Francisco in the 1960s and 1970s when the Cultural Revolution was happening, and where it was a very funky place, which is why all the young people went there. Not the San Francisco we know today. And I was also lived in Barcelona in 1980, when it was a very troubled place, before they came up with the extraordinary vision that transformed it over the last couple of decades. And we see, and we saw then, and we believe it more now, the same potential here. That you can see it here tonight, that Porto Alegre has this very well-educated, intellectual, alternative culture. This after all, we saw the documentary, Bonfim was the national capital in Brazil of rock music, and punk, and et cetera. And so this, you can see in the 6 elements, this blend of this culture, this cool, hip place, like Brooklyn. And I was a professor at Columbia University. I know what Brooklyn was like before that transformed. Now both of our sons live there, and it's a cool place. So we see that this is a place that has the ability, in terms of the talent and the cultural inclination, and even this sustainable innovation zone. Nothing like it in all of Brazil, a grassroots, citizen-led, community-based initiative. And even though the city government likes it very much and the state government likes it, but it's a people's movement. It's not a government movement. And that's what makes it so powerful, and that's what we want to expand on. And the reason I'm sharing this is because when we put forward the strategy, the Leapfrog strategy last year, we said there are 2 reasons why it will work. The first is because sustainable innovation is the way of the future in the world. That's what just came out of Paris, and people are finally recognizing, well, if we're going to have a civilization that's going to thrive in the future, this is the way it has to go. So the first places that figure out how to do it have a huge economic competitive advantage. And what we're trying to do here with all of you is have Porto Alegre here, Grande do Sul, be the first place in all of Latin America to step into this space. Now, and what that means is that we're now saying, and we're part of a global network, so we tell people all over the world every day about this, that Porto Alegre is joining a club, with Berlin and Barcelona, with Brooklyn, with San Francisco and Portland and Vancouver, and Freiburg and on and on and on and on and on. The places around the world, almost all of which are in the global north, that are on the cutting edge of this kind of lifestyle shift, of this kind of sustainable innovation path. Porto Alegre is now going to join that, meaning that it's going to be one of the cool places in the world. So that's going to happen because of all of you, of all your heart, of all of your talent, and all your commitment, and all your ability. That's the main reason why it's happening. But here's the thing I want to share with you. Because the rest of the world is actually very interested and very excited about that. Because where we come from, people know that, if the rest of the world doesn't follow the sustainable innovation path, then the places that are the rich places now are screwed anyway. They're not going to be able to transform on their own unless the whole world transforms. So they have a huge interest in places like here also transforming. And so what they're waiting for, as it turns out, is to see that it's really happening. And you are already showing them that it's really happening. People see the video that came out last Friday like, wow. So the reason I'm sharing this is because the other way that we will succeed, if you have the vision, the courage, and the heart to step forward and move in this direction, is that when the rest of the world sees that you're doing it, they're going to jump in and help. They really, really want us to succeed here. So that means talented people, with ideas and innovative technologies. It means investment and trade and resources and tourism and so forth. Believe it or not, it's only a year or two away before cool people all over the world, and you're part of these social networks, are going to want to come to Porto Alegre and visit the Sustainable Innovation Center. That could even be happening by next year. We'll see. There you go, all the way from London. Okay. So, I just want to say, take heart, this help is on the way. And just to share with you a couple of examples, there's one from Sweden and one from the UN. And this is just the beginning. Keep in mind that there are other countries we're already talking with, Germany, US, and institutions varying from Singularity University to London School of Economics and Columbia University. But I want to read you these two to show you that how fast it happened. How fast it happened. Because both of these things only happened because of the course in the last 2 months. Directly. So the first is to share with you, and this is I'm just going to read you part of an invitation that Giuliano Forster received. There he is. Okay. Last week, from the chief of the Science and Technology section of the United Nations Conference on Trade and Development. Dear Mr. Forster, I am writing to explore your availability to participate as a panelist in the intersessional panel of the United Nations Commission on Science and Technology for Development, CSTD, scheduled to take place in Budapest, Hungary, from 11 to 13 January 2016. Dr. Marc Weiss, CEO of Global Urban Development, has suggested that we get in touch with you. One of the themes to be examined by the CSTD is smart cities and infrastructure. It would be very much appreciated if you could speak about the Sustainable Innovation Hub and the Sustainable Innovation Zone initiatives in Porto Alegre. Now this one, which is even more amazing, and it was because it was just a month ago that at NASCO Working there was Swedish-Brazil Innovation Week. And I was running behind, and I got there a little late, but by the time I got there, Tainan and Arthur had talked to one of the speakers, a guy named Ali Dirks, who is one of the leaders of the Swedish Incubators and Science Parks Association. So it's an organization that represents all the business incubators, science parks in Sweden. And this organization, so that began a conversation about the zone. In fact, the guy that was from the Swedish embassy in Brasilia, who's in charge of promoting this innovation partnership, he came down and he said, this was already a month ago, he said, we heard about the Sustainable Innovation Zone. That's the coolest thing that's happening in the 4th District right now. We want to help. Andrea was there, she knows. The Swedish ambassador was there. So, this guy, Ali, and his organization, they partner with something called the Swedish Institute, which is the Swedish government's version of the Goethe Institute for Germany or the British Council for the UK and so forth. You know, they're worldwide cultural promotion. So the two of them, Swedish Institute and the Science Park organization, they have a thing called the Smart Living Challenge, which has been going on for several years to promote sustainable lifestyle shifts in how people live, how they eat, how they get around and so forth around the world. And they pick places and initiatives to work with, including last year in Brazil. They worked with some students at Federal University of Rio de Janeiro. So they said, well, would the Sustainable Innovation Zone be interested in being part of the Smart Living Challenge? And we said, sure, why not? So little did we know, 2 weeks ago in Paris, as part of the Copie Vincion, didn't I say that well? They had their big annual meeting of the Smart Living Challenge, and the people from, not only a lot of people from Sweden, but people from all over the world that are involved in it. And they said, what the 6 groups have come up with, the strategic action initiatives, and figure out which ones they want to help support. This is the Swedish government we're talking about. So here's what it says. For 2016, the most engaged partners from the Smart Living Challenge Network will be invited to support 1 or 2 countries in their ambition towards a concrete initiative on sustainable lifestyles for cities. At the COP21 seminar arranged by the Swedish Institute and Swedish incubators and science parks, the audience voted for involving the most engaged persons from the Smart Living Challenge Network globally to support Rio Grande do Sul in Brazil to become the most sustainable and most innovative place in Latin America by 2030. Now you can applaud. And here's the amazing thing. Nobody was even from here was even there to speak on our behalf. In other words, so there wasn't anybody from Porto Alegre that gave a rousing speech. The people on their own, just from reading a little bit about what we're doing and hearing about it, that was enough for them to make this commitment. So I want to emphasize this again, because this is the hidden side that's hard for the gauchos to see. You say, because and I know when we were in Washington, we started working with Rio Grande do Sul, and the officials came from the state government. We set up all these meetings, and people in Washington was like, "Where's Rio Grande do Sul? We never even heard of it." So we had to show them on a map. It's this huge place in the south of Brazil. So, but this is the point. So you're not forgotten at all. And the more this whole initiative goes forward, the more it's going to become a global phenomenon, which means a lot of help is on its way. So take heart, have courage, have a lot of fun, because it's mostly been a lot of fun so far, and keep going. And fasten your seatbelts, because 2016, I think it's going to be a very wild and fun ride for all of us. Okay, thank you.